Welcome once again. And so today, this is the topical area we are looking at. So, finishing with language and logic and language usage, basically. So, today I'll be talking um, about the definitional techniques that exist. Basically, there are two main definitional techniques that we use to produce all the five kinds of definitions that exist. We've looked at reportive um, or lexical definition. We have looked at stipulative definition. We have looked at precising definition. We have looked at persuasive definition. We have looked at theoretical definitions. So all of these five types of definitions are produced using the two main definitional techniques that exist. Right. So these include the intentional meaning and then the extensional meaning. So from the beginning, we looked at these two, the intentional meaning, which has to do with the connotative meaning that gives a description of features, list the description features or qualities that a term possesses. And we also looked at the extensional meaning, which has to do with the extension or the denotation. So looking at the class, okay, the class, the term is perceived, or the class in the world that the particular term is perceived to belong to, right? So if we looked at, we looked at two terms, we looked at the number of terms. So if we looked at, what's the name? Cat, then you are talking about it connotative meaning being, it is furry, it has, it is a four-legged being, it makes certain sounds. But if you are talking about the denotation of cat, then you are referring to the world of all cats, the breeds, the kinds, all of them together. We've looked at other examples like mobile phone. The connotative meaning is that it is an electronic device that is used to make and receive calls, messages, and etc. Then when you are talking about the denotative meaning, then you are referring to the world, the class, okay, of that, the class, the term, the particular term belongs to, or the class it belongs to. So the denotative meaning will then include all the different types of phones that exist, or everything we call phone, whether landline, mobile phone, whichever. They are all phones. So today we are extending on that. So intentional meaning and extensional meaning provide a basis for constructing definitions. And we have looked at the five types of definition, kinds of definitions. So we want to look at the some of the items or issues that concern with the constructing of definition based on the intentional meaning or external or extensional meaning. Extensional definitions assign a meaning by identifying the things of the class, the word, which is the definiendum, denotes. And there are three kinds of extensional meanings. We have the demonstrative or ostensive definitions. Now, if, for example, we're in an in-person class, then I was teaching you about something, and what I was teaching you, I decided to demonstrate it by pointing at it, then I am demonstrating. We call it ostensive definition. So the ostensive definition points to these things. It is a definition that requires showing or pointing to an object to convey the meaning of the word. That's giving an example or pointing to an object to convey the meaning of a word. For example, chair means this and this and this, as you point to several chairs, one after the other. So even where you are sitting right now, you can even help me point to all the things around you that you refer to as chairs. Okay. So you said this is a chair, that is a chair. We use this form of definitions to teach children. You know, children do not possess enough vocabularies to be able to perceive, conceive, and understand the things we teach them. So if you're teaching a child that this is a car, you end up pointing to the car, what it means to say this is a car. And sometimes you even go ahead telling him this is a Mercedes Benz, it's a car. This is a Toyota Corolla, it's a car. So you end up doing that, okay? Or, for example, you are teaching a child what it means to say this is red, and then it's okay. You have seen blood before, okay? The last time you had a cut on your body, something came out of your body, it's red, right? That is blood. So blood is red. We are doing ostensive definition, okay? And probably if maybe I'm not using blood, you can use something like tomatoes. Okay, tomatoes is red. Okay, it's red, so that is red. Okay, so this is a definition, a kind of definition based on extensive denotative definitions. Then we have enumerative definitions, which is also an example of the demonstrative, is example of the denotative definition. So we have the enumerative definition. The enumerative definitions name individuals that the word denotes. A meaning is assigned to a term by naming the members of the class the term denotes. For example, actress. Then you go ahead saying actress. Actress means a person such as Yvonne Nelson, Blake Lively, or Emma Stone. That is enumerative. You are given a definition by listing, naming the members of the class. So if you are talking about an actress, we get to know that an actress denotatively implies persons that act in a movie or anything that required acting. An example of an actor or an actress is so and so and so and so. Then you are enumerating. That is also a type of denotative definition or meaning, right? Then you have another word like Baltic, the Baltic states. You refer to the Baltic states, for example, Baltic states means Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania, or you even mention Finland, etc. They are all Baltic states. Okay, so that is enumerative definitions. Then we have the third type, which is definition by subclass. Definition by subclass identifies subclasses of these things. A meaning is assigned to a term by naming subclasses of the class denoted by the term. So, for example, tree. Tree means an oak, pine, elm, spruce, maple, and the like. So you see, we are talking about tree, and then you are mentioning the subclass. Okay, subclasses that would define what a term is, or you are trying to use the subclasses to identify what the term actually means. Or we'll talk about flower, and there's a flower means a rose, lily, daisy, geranium, zinnia, and the like. All of these are subclasses of flower, and you are using them to identify what the term actually denotes. So, etc. You have the citation, you have fictional word, all of them. So, fictional word means either a poem, a play, a novel, a short story. These are all subclasses that are being used to identify what the term belongs to. Then we have the intentional or the connotative definitions. The connotative actually assign a meaning by identifying the qualities, as we have noticed from the beginning. Identifying the qualities or attributes the word connote. And there are 5 kinds of those. We have one, the synonymous definitions. The synonymous definitions equate the word being defined with another word that connotes the same attribute. So that is, the definient is a single word that connotes the same attribute as the definient. For example, physician means doctor. This is synonymous. Both of them are connoting the same thing. They have the same attribute. Physician means doctor is synonymous definition. So the attribute of a physician is the same attribute of a doctor. That's what we are saying. That it is by equating the word being defined with another word that connotes the same attribute. Now look at the second example. Intentional means willful. The word intentional means willful. Both of them connote the same thing. They have the same attributes. We have voracious means ravenous, the same thing. Observe means see, the same thing. So both of them connote the same thing, the same attribute, the same quality, etc. That is why we refer to them as what? Synonymous. Then we have the etymological definition. Etymological definition. With etymological definitions, it discloses the world's ancestry. Where from the word? Where from the word? The word comes from one language. A meaning is assigned to a word by disclosing the word's ancestry in both its own language and other languages. So, for example, we look at the English words license. So we are trying to define license, and then you refer to license from its parental background, from its ancestry, where it came from before today. It has become known as what? License. So license is derived from the Latin word licere. Licere. So you can say yes. So the Latin verb licere, which means to be permitted. And the English word captain derives from the Latin noun caput, which means head. So you put together, you know what is coming from. So talking about license, that is the background, that is the parental background, that is the ancestry. So there are some definitions like that. So those of you who got yourself involved in spelling bee contest in your younger ages, maybe from primary 4 through year 7, year 8, you might have come across some of these words that have some ancestries that you need to know, words used in English that are coming, some of them are coming from Latin background, some from Greek background. Depending on your specialization also, there are terms that you will be coming across and you'll be told that this term is coming from probably a German root, meaning this. Probably that was where what you are doing as a specialization is coming from. If you take medicine, for instance, medicine is coming from the Greek background. Medicine, pharmacy, physician, they are all coming from the Greek background. So most of the terms that are used in medical services, you will see the ancestral root from that end. Then we have operational definitions. Operational definitions specify experimental procedures for determining whether the word applies to a certain thing. A meaning is assigned to a word by specifying certain experimental procedures that determine whether or not the word applies to a certain thing. So we'll look at some example. One substance is harder than another if and only if one crushes the other when the two are rubbed together. Then brain activity means that an electroencephalograph, okay, shows oscillation when attached to a patient's head. Then we can know. Or you look at the next one, potential difference exists between two conductors if and only if a voltmeter shows a reading when connected to the two conductors. A solution is an acid if and only if litmus paper turns red when applied to it. So from the definition, it said it specifies what? Experimental procedures for determining whether the word applies to a certain thing. So first of all, it shows that that's why it is called operational definition. So sometimes in the researches we do, these are some of the things we do, operational definition. All of these definitions we are looking at, they are the ones that gives birth to the 5 types of definitions that we have. Okay, so operational definitions, you can find them more tailored towards theoretical definitions. So these are some of the issues. All right, so you see that each of these definitions prescribed an operation to be performed. The first prescribes that the two substances in question be rubbed together. Then we shall know. The second, that the electroencephalograph be connected to the patient's head and observe for oscillations. The third, that the voltmeter be connected to the two conductors and observe for deflection. And the fourth, that the litmus paper be placed in the solution and observe for color change. So once it happens, then it means that the word applies. If it doesn't happen, then the word doesn't apply. That is how operational definition are like. Then we have the fourth group, which is referred to as definition by genus and difference. Definition by genus and difference. These identify a genus term and one or more different words that, when combined, convey the meaning of the definition. So it says what? Definition by genus and difference. Identify a genus term and one or two different words that, when combined, convey the meaning of the definition. So let's look at the word ice. Ice means frozen. And the genus word is what? Water. Ice means frozen. And then what? The genus word is water. So ice becomes the species. Find daughter means female. And then the genus term is offspring. Husband means married. And then the genus term is man. Doe means female. The genus term is deer. Found, the same. And then the difference is very young. The genus is deer. Skyscraper means very tall. The genus, that is the source word, is building. So there are other examples that can be more complex. For example, tent, which means a collapsible shelter made of canvas or other material that is stretched and sustained by poles. So tent is the species, shelter is the genus, and the collapsible and made of canvas being the difference. So the applicability of the 7 definitional techniques in producing the 5 kinds of definition can be summarized in using a table. So I've not included that table here, but you can find that table in your textbook, and I'll be glad you do refer to it. Then we have the criteria for lexical definitions, and there are 8 of those criteria. So if you are doing a dictionary definition, how do you go about it? What are the criteria that are supposed to be observed? So lexical definition should be governed by these rules. Number 1, they should conform to the standards of proper grammar. Grammar. Okay, and then they should convey the essential meaning of the word being defined. So please read further on these issues, these examples, so you can get clarity on them. And then 3, be neither too broad nor too narrow. Avoid circularity. So if you read the text, you will find what it means to make a circular definition. You get a number of examples. Not so you should not be negative when they can be affirmative. So if you know the statement you want to make, can the definition can be affirmative, you don't need to make it negative. Avoid figurative, obscure, vague, or ambiguous language. Figurative, obscure, vague, ambiguous language. Avoid affective terminology. Affective terminology. We're talking about emotional, emotively charged language. And then the 8th one, indicate the context to which the definitions the things indicate that context. So these will serve as the end of whatever we have begun with logic and then language usage. Thank you very much, and I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions. But